sure that the KBLA audience is up to speed.
Mary Karen Bass, thank you so much. Godspeed.
All right, thank you.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Influenced by crime, addicted to grinding. I can pop with my chips. So you call me a timer. I've been balling since my adolescent years, steady climbing. Man, you motherfuckers don't know nothing about no time. That's right, boy. Start that. I heard a rumor I died, murdered in cold blood, traumatized. Pictures of me in my final state, you know mama cried. But that was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted. Like I no longer existed, mysteriously missing. Although I'm worldwide, baby, I ain't hard to find. Where I spend most of my time, my California grind. Watching for thieving, I'm cautious, it's like I'm barely breathing. Putting the bullet in motherfucker, give me the reason. See me in hope, I'm intoxicated or slightly faded. You tried to play me, now homicide's my only payment. I'm addicted to kerosene in this life I leave. Why the cops be running, too scared to fight a G? For the life of me, I cannot see how motherfuckers picture living life after a night of really with me. And if you don't like this rhyme, then bring your big bad to California, cause we ain't hard to find. Influenced by crime, addicted to grinding. I can pop with my chips. Call me a timer. I've been balling since my adolescent years, steady climbing. Motherfuckers don't know nothing about no timing.
Shout out to that Bay Area collaboration. Pac, E40. Is Richie Rich on that too? I believe so. Richie Rich. Okay. Sibo, the bald head nut. That's some real deep. I think Sibo was from Sacramento. That's early 90s Bay Area hip hop. Different time, like a real different time in hip hop. Something, I mean, we don't really talk a lot about that time in hip hop in the Bay Area. Feel like a lot of it was really, underground. But yeah, shout out to that. I really love Richie Rich. If you're saved, go to church. I know it hurts. He always dropped that in them lines. He is featured on Pac's last album, the double album. I don't know why I just blanked out on the name of it. The double album. But the song was I'd Rather Be Yo. Yeah. That is my cut. Richie Rich, baby. I can't remember. There's this couple songs Richie Rich had that I was really into at the time. Wonder what happened to Richie Rich. At any rate, let's get into Drummer Boy because, yeah. So basically, Drummer Boy, he recently was featured on the Big Facts podcast, and he explained that Tupac was an educated actor, not necessarily a gangster rapper. He feels Pac played a role to fit in with his death row label. So let's take a listen to his comments.
Why you gotta create a character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Pac was a real smart, educated like a lot of people could borderline nerd, or you know what I'm saying? If you knew him from like 14, 15, it was not no street. You know what I mean? So once you see, like, everybody look at Pac like his street, he ain't tech, but I feel like all that was a character. You know what I mean? And it was aligned with who he was signed to, where he had to be like that. And then I'm out here with these West Coast, these don't really know me like that. You see what I'm saying? So they only know me for what I'm acting like. Let me show these, you know what I'm saying? And you know my music from back home, but you don't know me. You know what I'm saying? You had to call, hey, what the, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's easy to go to a whole nother side of the world and you gonna act different.
That put you in a position too, cause there ain't no way. Like I seen on an interview, they were like, Pac ain't supposed to get in no gang. Like ain't no way you supposed to got in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
coming from all the movies he was doing and the acting he was doing and you know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about the acting to be active, like put your hands on the gang member, whatever you did.
Right.
You supposed to get in there.
Right.
You can rep that whatever you're doing, but don't.
Hold on. This ain't even the wasn't even that took the chain. That's what's crazy. Like you don't even know the information. Number one, number two, it ain't even your beef.
Thank you.
Yeah. So all of that aside, I'm talking about the chain and the beef part, what happened in Vegas. Drummer Boy's from Memphis, Tennessee. He's 40. He was born in 83. So that means that he was about 13 years old when Tupac passed away, right? I say that because it's important. So while I know a lot of people feel, oh, Pac was playing a character that wasn't really how he was, let's talk about Tupac pre-death Row, right? Let's just start off with the fact that his mother was a former Black Panther. We know Pac was almost born in jail because his mom was locked up. That, the Black Panther spirit was obviously deeply embedded in Pac, right? And I think you'll understand when I say you can't get more gangster than the Black Panthers. You know what I mean? So that's one. He had a revolutionary spirit from the gate, right? Before Pac got with Death Row, are you forgetting he was living in the Bay Area? He was touring with Digital Underground. Before you ever heard of Tupac, really, you might have saw him in the Digital Underground video. In 91, he had a case against the Oakland Police Department for beating him during a jaywalk thing where he was allegedly belligerent and resistant. He says he wasn't, all of those things. So, did he get that from who? He got that from himself, right? Those two off-duty cops that he got in a shootout with in Atlanta? How many other, and not that we're advocating for this, nor asking for this, but what other rapper before, during, or since have you heard about getting a shootout with the cops? You haven't. You have not, right? What was he doing over there in Marin County when that incident happened? Tragic incident. Wilding out. Had nothing to do with Death Row. Did Death Row enhance what he had been sitting in jail thinking about? The man, felt he was wrongly incarcerated. He, a short time before that was coming off of 5 shots, felt he was betrayed by various people around him, and he came out on a mission. And Suge, they fed off of each other's energy in a way, because Suge is a little messy, a little instigator, and it just got it going. I think to say that he took on a character, again, he may have become more emboldened being surrounded them, but I can't say that it was a character because it was facets of him that existed before he got with Death Row. You think about the video, the single actually from his first album, Tupacalypse, Holla If You Hear Me, right? That video was gangster as heck. He pitched part of the concept for the video. There was no Death Row yet when that dropped. So I just feel like it's easy to say when you really don't know Pac's story. And that seems crazy. Like, how can you not know Tupac's story? But really, most people, especially if you weren't around for it, you got to think how long ago that was. You sort of forget the first part of his career. People really think it's like unsuccessful, successful, or something of that nature. And they don't recognize that Pac was acting the way that he acted long before he got with Death Row. I mean, he had Thug Life tatted across his chest, right? That didn't come from Death Row. He was rolling with his Thug Life crew. Again, not from Death Row. So I feel like though he had those aspects to him, remember he's a Gemini, so that's 2 sides. I think that it is kind of, giving more credence to how much others influenced his behavior. And I think that that is not fair. That's not fair to the people that he's around. And it's also not fair to him as a person, because if anything Pac showed you, it's that he was very focused, determined, hard-headed, and on his own mission. So maybe gangster isn't the right word, maybe revolutionary is, but he always had that spirit in him. I mean, he was talking about, we hungry, let us out, and making comparisons to the gangster rap style and the movement. I don't know. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I feel like, ascribing to all that he just created that once he got to Death Row, you are totally ignoring the first half of his career. And those are my thoughts on that. When we come forward, we're going to get into Chris Tucker. He has a new tour coming up, and about the boundaries that he set for himself within this cancel culture era. I mean, do you think, and we see comedians still, but I imagine it's got to be much harder to be a comedian in this era because cancel culture is real, kind of. At least complaint culture is. So we're going to get into that on the other side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with Kate Luzio, former banking executive and now owner of Luminary, who partnered with Chase for this tour. She makes it her business to build community for business owners.
Yeah, so I was a banker for 20 years before I decided to become an entrepreneur. 7 of those years were actually at JP Morgan Chase. One of the biggest things that I had going into my entrepreneurial journey was a big background in banking.
So what advice are you giving business owners looking for financial backing today?
So Chase brings in so much knowledge and the opportunity to understand what financial tools are out there for business owners to build, grow, and scale their business. A lot of business owners will say, well, I need to get a loan immediately. Well, you wouldn't just lend money to your friend if you didn't know why they needed it. I tell every business owner, you need a business plan, you need financial projections, you need a banker. Because you have to start building a relationship with a banker so that they get comfortable with how you're going to build that business and so that they can eventually support you in different ways.
Makes sense. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, before I get into this Chris Tucker story, really quickly, since we have been talking about hip hop and, sales and talent and drive and all of that, there's a guy that I follow on Twitter, X, named Dan Rucci, and he talks a lot about music industry topics. And recently he was tweeting about hip hop compared to pop and rock, right? And he said that hip hop is definitely the most popular genre on streaming, but pop and rock are still the most popular in concert sales, right? And I thought it was interesting, so he dived a little more into it. And really quickly, he said that 11% of concert revenue in the United States is devoted to hip-hop and R&B. And that is compared to 27% of streaming income. By the way, these stats come from the analysis of Pollstar box office revenue, okay? So pop and rock account for 27% of the concert revenue in the United States compared to 33% of streaming revenue, right? So some of the reasons behind this is age. Hip hop is still a relatively young art form, right? And so with a younger art form, the fan base tends to be younger. Rap, as we mentioned earlier when I was talking about DMX and Pac, rap wasn't in arenas early on. We're just getting caught up to that. It's just been, I think, in the 2000s where arena tours were starting to happen for rap artists, right? And where they were becoming festival headliners. That wasn't something that, we had seen. But pop and rock stars have toured, for decades globally, right? Of course, there's the bias. We talked about that with hip hop, how hip hop concerts and shows were hard to insure. Promoters, insurers would say no, they would turn it away because the thought was that there would be some type of violence at the show, right? And realistically, that's still a stigma that hangs over hip hop to this day, but there's so much money in it, they can't really afford to say no. They also said because of age and historical bias, the industry has spent less time developing strong touring acts for hip hop and R&B, right? And so he believes that artists rely too heavily on the quick checks, a nightclub performance, a paper bag walkthrough, a festival thing where you don't have to put as much time and effort into crafting a show. And then price, last year live music had its best year ever. Well, not last year. That would be this year. Obviously, we're talking about Taylor and Beyonce leading the pack in that, right? But only a handful of rappers are actually able to sell out tours on that level, right? And it's not very many of them. You look, Drake's not there yet. The arenas that he's performing in are just that, arenas. And again, that's not a diss, that's no shade, but it's 20,000 compared to 80,000. It's quite a big difference. So, we'll see. Hip hop is continuing to evolve as an art form, as a genre, and we'll see, kind of what happens next. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with the showrunner of the HBO, the Max show, Rap Eep. And we were talking about female rap and where it is now in comparison with the show. If you haven't checked out the show, it's really good. I suggest you do. I'll have an interview coming with her, the producer, and one of the directors from the show. If not later this week, maybe top of next week before we go into Thanksgiving. But that will be coming up. And it was an interesting conversation. I just think the way that the genre is changing, the way the music business is changing. And I do think at some point in the near future, there will be some type of music artist strike similar to what we've seen as far as actors and things like that. We know the music industry doesn't have a union per se, but there has to be an adjustment, and then we'll figure out if these people are worth the adjustment to make. Some of them will make the cut. So anyway, let's get into this Chris Rock story. We all know what cancel culture is. We've seen people reportedly get canceled, not necessarily attempt to be canceled. And, things just keep turning, right? But Chris Tucker, did I say Chris Rock? If I did, I apologize. I'm definitely talking about Chris Tucker, Friday, Chris Tucker, Michael Jackson impersonations, Chris Tucker. At any rate, so Chris, he says that though cancel culture is real, he knows just how far to go to ensure that he's not going to get caught up. He's currently headlining the Legend Tour. That's his first major tour in the U.S. since 2011. And he wants the audience just to laugh and have fun. But he says that his show is edgy. He said, that's my whole goal. I want everybody to come to my show, laugh, have fun, learn something, learn about what I'm thinking, and then what got me to this point of success in my life. It's who I am, not to really offend people, and I try, and I'm always conscious about that type of stuff. Hopefully I don't. If I do, I tell them sorry because it's definitely a little edgy, but not too edgy. And realistically, I don't know how you can say you go right up to the edge and don't go over because what's the edge anymore, right? We know it's really dependent upon the audience at the time and what is happening in the atmosphere at the time because there are some things, there are some jokes that people can drop and it just rolls through. And then sometimes it's the most random thing that can catch attention and it goes on and on and on. And most of us are looking around like that. That's what we're up in arms about. So I feel like it's so subjective. It's really hard to predict. I don't think at this point in time, I can't imagine Chris saying anything that's really, really, really outlandish. But I do wonder how comedians approach things. Like, if you're on a certain level, do you feel you can get away with stuff? Is it easier for them because comedy clubs do not allow cell phones inside? So as they're working out their material or figuring it out, they have more runway to kind of hone in on, where that line is and move right up close to it. I just think that it is interesting for a medium like comedy because for me, the whole thing of comedy is to talk about those things that we're not supposed to talk about and to make them relatable or funny. I'm probably not the best person to judge on that because I have a pretty open sense of humor. I can find humor in most situations, but I also think that it's a beautiful thing because I take things seriously when they need be, but I do not put a lot of credence into, trivial stuff that I feel like in the grand scheme of things isn't that big of a deal. Of course, that is subjective person to person, but in the cancel culture era, you're not going to really move ahead if you are too worried about the steps you take. But of course, it is deadly, and a lot of these people don't have filters, so it's a different thing. I don't know. You see comedians like DC Young Fly, Country Wayne. They seem to be making it, but I don't know if, as a whole, the genre of comedy has really switched up. We saw the slings and arrows Dave Chappelle has taken. People are definitely on one side or the other with that, and it's a hard thing for me because I feel like if they don't push you, if they're not talking about things openly, how people think, because no matter how much we try and play the PC game, and don't get me wrong, I think that tact is important. I think the loss of tact in some ways with it is not part of, but one of the contributing factors of these communication mishaps, non-connections, however you want to look at it, is because people, one, aren't willing to be open and listen and think about this is something outside of your perspective and to just relax. Everything doesn't have to be a statement. Everything doesn't have to be a moment. At least that's my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about this new comedy tour with Chris. So I don't know. Maybe him bumping up right along the edge isn't working out so well and he might want to push it over. So Kwamel in the chat says there is no such thing as female rap. Women rap in the rap genre. What do you mean by that, Kwamel? Because I'm going to have to disagree with that. I mean, are there women that just spit? But I definitely think there is a female rap, especially at this time. P-rap is just that, right? There's an empowerment aspect of it. It's interesting, and I probably shouldn't be giving this away, but I'm going to share it because y'all may not care. When I was interviewing, when Cyrita, that's the name of the showrunner for Rap Stuff, she said that when she was looking around for people to write the songs, the TV show is loosely based off of the City Girls and their climb or whatever. So it takes off from that. And it's very much planted in today's current rap industry as far as the perspective. So she said when she was looking around for rap artists, she wanted female artists to write Shauna and Mia. Those are the two characters, the leads, names in the show. She specifically wanted female rappers. And, what she discovered was that most of the songs, because obviously she went to songs that she really liked to kind of, get the style and the vibe in that she wanted for the two artists. And she was shocked to discover that so many of these songs are written by men. So on one hand, it explains the bravado that's in them and sort of the aggressive stance, not saying that women don't have that naturally on their own, some of them. But I think that, for all of the complaints, we oftentimes forget that, well, I guess maybe some women don't. Maybe that is some of their complaints that, these raps are written by men. So I want to know what you mean, Kwamel, that there's just women in the rap genre. I think that it is a poor take, not calling you, because, I respect your rap opinion, but I think it's a poor take to kind of try and, in an effort to even out the playing field, say that there is no female rap, because I very much think there is. Andy?
Tomato, potato, potato.
It's all the same thing. Women in rap is the same thing as female rap. It's just a label.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that wholeheartedly. But I do think, we've never had a time in hip-hop where there have been this many female artists to choose from. High level, mid, and, those bubbling under. So I think that it is a good thing. I'm here for all of it. I like all aspects of it. But I will ask the question, right? Because we do ask for more substance in our hip-hop, right? Are y'all still listening to Cobra by Meg? I bet you aren't. I bet you aren't. Even though she was spitting hot fire. I bet you are. When we come forward, we're going to talk about Jendea and his admission that he dragged a lot of women along for a ride that he wasn't really prepared to, give them, I don't know, how do you say this, space for, maybe. I don't think that's a good way to describe it. But basically, he was playing, y'all, and now he feels bad about it. We're also going to get into Queen Naja saying she has single girl envy. And, more trending topics and headlines. All that and more on RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Too much feeling this shit, that's why I'm quick to fill up. Regardless of get in my way, then that's ass to go. Cause I'm city plotting. I search hit for hit and mothers keep dropping.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Jury selection is now underway for the suspect accused of a deadly mass shooting in Norfolk, Virginia. Deontay Palmer allegedly shot 5 women and young terrorists back in 2021, killing 3 of them. Palmer, who was black, is facing numerous charges, including second-degree murder. Prosecutors say Palmer first shot his girlfriend in the shoulder, then opened fire on the 4 women who came to help her, including her mom, who was among those killed. The D.C. government wants to give students at local HBCUs a path into the public service sector. The city will offer an apprenticeship program to graduates of Howard University and the University of the District of Columbia. 25 students will be picked from each university for a paid 1-year apprenticeship with the local government agency. The students will be eligible for full-time employment with the city after completing the program. Applications for the apprenticeships will be accepted in February. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
When breaking news happens, keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580.
So pleased to announce that the 43rd mayor of the city of Los Angeles is on the phone. Mayor Karen Bass, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Dominique?
Good. You must be incredibly swamped right now, and I appreciate you checking in. It's indefinitely what we're hearing, that the 10 freeway to be down?
Yes, that is the case. All of those travel apps, pay attention to those. As we get information, they've been uploaded right away. So those maps should be accurate. But we actually are trying to tell people people to stay on freeways, to follow the route, because our streets can't handle 300,000. Our streets would be parking lots. There is metro, there is public transportation, so they're increasing the frequency of trains and increasing the frequency of buses. So you can go to 511 and learn about metro. You can go to emergency.lacity.gov to learn about any information on the city. This is a time for all of us to stay together. We're trying every avenue possible. That's why it's so important that you reached out, Dominique. Always want to make sure that the KBLA audience is up to speed.
Mayor Karen Bass, thank you so much. Godspeed.
All right, thank you.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
November is National Runaway Prevention and Homeless Youth Awareness Month, and the Sanctuary of Hope is shining a light on the situations that cause youth to run away or face a housing crisis. In LA County, nearly 3,000 youth are homeless on the streets each night. All month long, the Sanctuary of Hope will lead activities throughout LA County to inform and mobilize calls for action, and you can help. For more info, go to www.thesoh.org. That's www.thesoh.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDSLUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar, vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community actually for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible.
For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Get ready for a real good time.
Welcome back in. We are hour 3, the after hour. There is nothing wrong with freaking all night long. Me and you. We need a groove. Shout out to The Time. Give it up. You know, that was on the Cool album, The Time's first album. I think it was 81. I actually think I still have my original vinyl from this album. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Morris Day. I don't know if Jerome was in the group yet. Monty. Was Jesse Johnson in The Time? No, he was in the Revolution. So, yeah, that was my jam. I even enjoyed the TLC remake. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. T-Boz's voice was perfect for that. You know, the rash. You know, I like a raspy voice, Taurus. Yeah, that was a good cut. That was a good memory. I like it. Shout out to Urban Spinster in the chat from our previous topic about Edge. She said Edge is relative. It really is. And that's the thing. I don't know how Chris Tucker can comfortably say, yeah, I'm not going to go. I mean, I guess I do know how that he knows what his lineup is going to be. And I think he's trying to imply that it's all about fun, nothing too weighty, or, you know, you stay away from the danger areas. And at this point in time, we kind of know what those areas are. There's other things to be funny about. Kwamel says, because I asked him, he said there's no such thing as female rap, women rap in the rap genre, right? And I get it, fair. His explanation was, female rap is a thing sexist dudes call it to dismiss female rappers. Notice they're never compared with male rappers in who's the best at it. Yeah, but here's the thing. Sometimes, in my opinion, a thing is a thing. And yes, there are females that rap within the rap genre, but I do think that there is a particular subset, especially now, you know, Hot Girl Summer, City Girls Up 100, all of that, Get Money, you know, it's okay. You can say it started with Choice. You can say it started with groups like HWA. We talked about Foxy and Kim last night. There's again, there's a point where the Get Money girls started as far as their rhymes and that stuff. But I think it's complicated because, yeah, we want to be on an even playing field. But that doesn't mean that there aren't distinct differences in certain things and approaches and stuff like that. You're never going to hear a male rapper talk about abuse from the perspective of being a victim, right? You're just not. He may talk about, you know, you think about LL, Love You Better, you know, he smoked too many blunts, whatever the lyric is. But there are just certain topics that you're not going to hear from a male rapper. And so, yeah, they're just women that rap, but there is a segment of it that is strictly, I feel, surrounding them. Shout out to Brother Alfonso. Jesse Johnson was an original member of The Time. Okay, good. I thought I wasn't tripping. I really like Jesse Johnson and his Hot Pink. I Want My Girl is still one of my favorite slow jams. Be Your Man. I think that I'm really into synthesizers and bass. Like that Minneapolis sound, I didn't realize how much it really grabbed a hold of me. Because obviously Janet's first album, really, if you think, not her first album, I'm not talking Young Love. When I say first album, I know there were 2 before that. I bought them, I was fans. I'm talking more Control. It definitely had a Minneapolis sound to it, if you think about it. And you think about things like the the SOS Band, Human League, things like that. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis' sound of the 80s is a thing. I know this has nothing to do with female rap, but we're rocking back and forth. Roll with us. And it touches me, and it's one of my favorites. Now, on to other topics. Zendaya. You know, I felt this was a little manipulative. I felt like Zendaya had a little bit too much glee in his voice in discussing this conversation. There seemed to be a twinkle in his eye when he was talking about how he was ashamed of how he's treated women in the past. Seemed like a humble brag. But let's hear what he had to say. And you tell me what you... from yesterday. We don't have that? No. Zendaya? No? Okay. Okay. Well, what about Naja, Queen Naja? All right. So, still on the relationship thing. Well, I'll circle back to you guys about Zendaya tomorrow. Queen Naja, she talked about she is a young R&B artist and she has young children, and she talked about, the grass being greener. We always hear a lot about the goal is to get married, how important it is for women to get married. But she talked about the other side of that and how, people don't always discuss how being a mom means you don't have time for yourself. You don't have time to get into yourself and explore yourself in the ways that you did before you have a child. And yes, we know that's why some people should wait. But even if you wait, what? Oh, Zendaya. It's not Zendaya? I say Zendaya. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can get both in. But how does he say his name in here? Jadena? Okay, I'm wrong then. I've been saying it wrong all this time. I think I probably interviewed him and said his name wrong to him. But he didn't correct me, so, apologies. We're going to do Zendaya and then we'll do Single Girl Envy.
I robbed some women of their baby-making years, dragging them along. They built me up. Look at me now, and look at them. If you are creative, I folded you into my artwork. If you were in my artwork, I gave you a job. I gave you a job. I mastered your life. I gave you a house, food, everything you needed. I protected and provided for you. I did what men are supposed to do. I remember different quotes I said, just really manipulative things to say, no one's gonna love you the way I do. My God, I'm ashamed of it. And that's what makes me angry when I see my brothers do that. We can't do that to the women that have done so much for us to even exist. And I saw myself for the first time. All the things I'm saying now, whoo, horror. Bit by bit, I stripped myself of my former self. And I swore that the next relationship that I would get in, I would work as hard at love as I worked in my career.
So let me say this. I do like, accountability. I like those realizations, maybe the problem was me. I was stringing these women along. But I do stand by the fact that he sounded a little giddy in that clip, gleeful even about the things that he used to do. And I mean, sometimes that happens. We can talk about our past and be like, yo, I was a mother back in the day. But somehow the way that he was describing it to me, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily true, but it feels like, even though he says he wouldn't go back into that wave, that time frame, that mental, feels like game that he absolutely would slip back into that mode because the game just seems to roll off his tongue and be so slippery and natural. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like, and again, could be wrong, maybe I'm a little jaded, but sometimes it feels like these, I guess, confessions of, I used to be such a dog. Seems like, I'm trying the other way to get my pick and to still have those kind of controlling tendencies because why are you so happy about being trash? Andy?
Are you going based off of what you heard or what you saw?
What I saw. I watched the clip. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, honestly, he's been saying these type of things for some time now. But there are just, and maybe again, there are just elements to me that feel like there is a tad bit of game in what he's saying. Like he may believe it, but he might be laying it on a little thicker because, that's what the girlies like now.
So he's pandering is what you're saying?
A little bit. I think he's pandering a little bit, because the girlies love an introspective, open, accountable man. Especially at this time. I'm being vulnerable.
I guess I can give you a little bit of credence to that. I guess I wanted to chime in a little bit on where you felt like he came off a little happy. I can kind of see where you may get that. And I think that smile or whatever, or that quote-unquote glee that you got from him was just, I guess, a reflection of who he used to be. And I guess, he was kind of laughing at himself at who he used to be. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get that. So, it's like, man, I used to be a MFer back in the day. I used to have them rolling. I mean, I get it. And again, I do understand that because, we all laugh at our past selves, and some of the things that we used to do, some of the way that we used to handle situations. So I do believe that it was some of that. And I do believe that he's done some introspection because, again, these are conversations he's had for a while. But somewhere deep in the tiny crevice of my heart, I'm like, game. That's game. I don't know. Those are just my feelings. I just feel like that's what it is.
You know what? I'm going to keep it real. I think as a man, it's challenging sometimes to even maybe profess wanting to be more positive or more respectful without being ridiculed, right? Like I can't go off and say Grand Rising Queen without you assuming that I'm trying to game you up.
Right.
But like I'm literally over here trying to be a more positive individual. And I think, for men trying to, change their ways, it still gets ridiculed.
It's disturbing. I mean, and I can wholeheartedly agree with that because, people don't think that men are supposed to be sensitive, sensitive thugs, y'all all need hugs. And I understand that, and I understand the hesitancy that it can cause some men to maybe want to be vulnerable. But I also feel like there are certain markers or phrases or keywords that just feel like a script. Or feel like, directly from the game manual, And those are the type of things that when you start hearing those keywords, when those things start pinging, you're like, I don't know. So shout out to him if he has. Say it for me, Andy, because I jacked it all up and I need to remember this. Jindea?
How did you get Jindea from
Jidenna? Because I always thought it was Jindea. I thought that there was like an accent, or something, some space. I got to go look that up. I feel like I'm kind of right. I don't know. I'm all the way wrong. Look, just being stubborn. I'm right. Okay, so listen. When we come forward, we're going to get into this Queen Naija clip really quickly because I think it's something that people don't think about sometimes. The grass always looks greener on the other side. So more on that when we come forward. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Beloved Entertainment presents Sweet Spot Live with me, Angelique Francis, at the beautiful Miracle Theater at 226 South Market Street in Inglewood on Sunday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Join me with KBLA for short stories told live on stage with us, by us. Yes, our own storytellers straight from the neighborhood. Colorful and provocative live storytelling event celebrating our unique culture, our strength, our courage, our faith, and yes, our fire. We invite you to walk with us through the neighborhood, even run with us down our dark alleys if you dare. Just around the corner, there is laughter, unspeakable pain, secrets never told. But don't worry. The door is unlocked and we're going to leave the porch light on. That's Sunday, November 19th at the Miracle Theater, 226 Market Street in Inglewood, 6 p.m. Yes, it is all happening right here in the Sweet Spot. Tickets available, sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com, sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. We got a lot to talk about.
Boom, 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 boom.
Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Really quickly, I mentioned Shonda Rhimes, that she is in a bidding battle for the rights to a new biopic being made off of a memoir. It's Britney Spears. She is in a bidding competition. There's others, but Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Shonda Rhimes, those are all, not all, but a few of the people that are vying for the opportunity to produce Britney's life story from book to screen. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Now listen, Queen Naja, like I said, she's 28 years old, R&B singer, started off as a YouTube vlogger. Recently, in an interview, she was discussing how, a lot of people talk about they want to be wifed up in relationships and things like that, but that sometimes, as a mother, a young mother, she has, I believe, 2 children, she gets single girl envy, and she misses or wants to re-experience life just being for herself sometimes, not having those responsibilities. Let's check out what she said.
I love the girls, though. I love the girls that's like all about them, putting themselves first, like
sometimes I be envying
selfish.
The girls. Sometimes I envy the girls, and I hate to say this, but I'm just be real. It's about being real, right?
Right.
Sometimes I envy the girls that get to wake up with no kids and like literally get to design their apartment the way that they want and like literally go and just do whatever they want.
Just do everything for them. I literally was telling my other friend that the other day, I was like the girls that don't got kids and they don't have like all the other things like we have, like their lives look so like
it looks so organized.
They house be clean all the time.
And it's just like
they clothes be perfect.
It's so crazy. I don't like. Let's not say this because I love my kids. I got 2 kids, by the way. She got 1 kid. If y'all don't know, she's a new mommy.
I just had it. Well, like it's been a year. I ain't gonna say I'm that
she
new.
Just had a baby a year ago, and I started with I had CJ at 19.
Yeah.
I got married at 19.
Right.
And then like from that relationship that failed, I went right into another relationship.
So you
and then had another baby, and so I've never gotten a chance
know yourself, like to know you or to do you.
It's really hard. Like I'm still trying to learn myself, like outside of just music, and like I'm trying to learn myself while still trying to become a wife too,
and
the best mom,
a better mom. I get you.
It's hard to do all of that. Like I feel like sometimes I gotta choose.
Well, you do, and I feel like a lot of women deal with that. Like then we go through depression sometimes because we do lose ourselves in the process because we're trying to be all these things at one time and not just be ourselves. But it's like you can't really just be just yourself. You have to be
a mom.
You have to wear.
You gotta do the title.
You gotta do all of it.
Yeah.
A wife is a totally different thing, category, whatever label.
That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother.
And then a
episode.
Mom is a totally different job, and then you yourself. That's
how
totally
do you? I know you be asking me questions, but how do you?
So listen, she's right. I think that while we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago about Ebony K. Williams and women should find their husband in their 20s, that is when they're more equally yoked with each other, haven't really fully gone all the way out into their career yet. And, people are more likely to be on the same level and can come together. But the downside of that is you don't get the opportunity to learn yourself in your 20s and figure out who you are outside of this coupledom or this child. So, choice is choice. Everything is not right for everyone, but it is something to consider and something to think about, that the grass always looks greener on the other side. And for every pro that comes along with a situation, there are cons too. So, give your coupled up sisters and brethren a break, and understand they got some things going on just like you do too. And everybody's just trying to figure it all out. Listen, tomorrow we have another packed show. It's also Wednesday, so that means our Keep It Real friend will be in the building. More trending topics, more headlines, more VIPs. Thank you for locking in tonight to RSVP with Jill Munroe. When we come forward, you will hear the best of KBLA. I hope you have an amazing night, and I'll be back with you tomorrow.
Dreams in the ghetto coming true. Only way we think we getting out is shooting through a hoop. That's not true. Genius brothers locked behind the wall. When we could've taught them all we gave them was a ball. Dream number 3. Really, I want all my free as a bird or a dog with no leash. Black the food, it gets sold legally. Number 4, we should love each other so much more. Number 5, F12, cause they might take my life if I reach for my phone. They gon'